Welcome to the Kyle Olson Show. Last week, you may remember, I talked to Dr. Ronnie Jackson, the former White House physician who evaluated President Trump and declared him to be mentally fit to serve as president. My first guest today, Yale psychiatrist Bandy X. Lee, believes the president is a danger to America and organized a collection of essays by medical experts titled The Dangerous Case of Donald Trump. Dr. Lee, thanks for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
So first, tell me about your book.
It was put together, in fact, a bit serendipitously. I never imagined that I would be making comments on a public figure, but there was a groundswell of mental health professionals speaking up about the dangers of this presidency in ways that were really unprecedented in American history. So we were in the hundreds and later thousands. So I collected some of the best essays, the best assessments by the top mental health experts of the country, and that's how the book came about.
Okay. Now, in 2017, you gave an interview to France 24 when you were talking about the book, and you said that presidential candidates should be evaluated by a panel of psychiatrists who would then determine whether or not they are fit to serve. Tell me your rationale behind that.
Well, it's kind of quite ordinary, actually. Most jobs that deal with life and death situations or have important tasks have a fitness for duty screen before granting the position. And that's true for all military personnel, especially military officers who deal with nuclear weapons. It's true for police officers. It's true for, in fact, much lower jobs of much less significance. So it's actually quite routine. It's done, in fact, in many doctor and lawyer groups voluntarily. They require fitness for duty tests before they enter the practice.
So do you believe that Joe Biden should be evaluated?
I have recommended that. I've recommended that for all presidential or vice presidential candidates that this would be a good idea.
So you have never personally evaluated Donald Trump, correct?
It depends on what you mean by personally evaluated, because we actually had very close interactions reported by his close associates and coworkers in Special Counsel Robert Mueller's report. It may not have been a report that was enough to indict a president or be legally useful, but it was very useful psychiatrically. In other words, we were able to do a fitness exam, and fitness exam is a functional test which does not require a personal interview. Sometimes we do the test without an interview. What counts is how the person interacts at work and observations of those who have closely interacted with the person.
Have you seen any Joe Biden speeches or TV interviews or public appearances that give you pause from a cognitive or a mental perspective?
I normally don't comment on public figures frivolously, so I would just say that cognitive issues or even mental illness does not disqualify a person from office. What disqualifies are dangerousness and unfitness. These are the important questions. Is the president dangerous? Is he mentally fit? Not does he have any issues. Everyone may have some defect here or there, and many presidents throughout history have. But dangerousness and unfitness are what unequivocally disqualify.
Have you ever heard Tara Reade's story? Do you know who Tara Reade is?
I don't.
Tara Reade accused Joe Biden of sexually assaulting her in the spring of 1993 when she was one of his staffers, which I think is, by its very definition, an act of violence. Assuming her story is true, Don't you think that indicates Joe Biden may have violent tendencies?
That is why I have recommended that he, as well as all candidates, undergo a fitness for duty exam, and an evaluation of dangerousness can be done from afar if we're given the right information. And so, I think everyone should be evaluated, not just Joe Biden.
What do you think would be found when it comes to these particular candidates
What do I think would be found?
if they were evaluated?
Uh, well, I mean, that's something that the evaluation would reveal.
Mm-hmm.
We wouldn't speculate ahead of time. If you're asking if there are signs that alert me to problems and concern me, I would say not necessarily. As I said before, it's not cognitive issues or even mental illness that is of concern when speaking of fitness for duty. What is important are signs of dangerousness, such as verbal aggression, history of boasting about sexual assaults, or inciting violence among their followers, or taunting allied or hostile nations, even nuclear power nations. These are signs of dangerousness. I haven't seen those in Biden, but I have to say I haven't really observed him closely.
Okay. When it comes to Tara Reade's accusations, and these have been, I think, have been pretty widely reported. But when it comes to her accusations, some of Joe Biden's supporters have said, and I'm paraphrasing, yes, that sounds bad, but Donald Trump is a whole lot worse. So if you think, and we're just, talking hypothetically here, if you think Joe Biden lacks mental acuity to serve as president, as, a lot of people have speculated, do you still believe Donald Trump is a bigger danger? And do you think because of, Trump being a bigger danger, do you think Biden should be elected anyway?
Well, I am a medical professional. I'm not really acting on behalf of politics. As a citizen, I've backed Republicans and Democrats throughout my life. So just because one party candidate is showing concerns enough for thousands of mental health professionals to come forth doesn't mean that the candidate of the other party should also be of concern. We don't work that way. We have to be neutral. We have to be medically neutral and speak only when there are signs of concern. And as far as I know, for Mr. Trump, mental health professionals of both parties and independent mental health professionals have spoken up, but none so far for Joe Biden that I know of.
So you would be comfortable, and I don't want to, this is why I'm asking, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but if it was determined that a Joe Biden had cognitive issues, he has trouble remembering, some people have speculated that he has symptoms that could indicate he has dementia. In fact, there's been polling that, 1/3 of Democrats, for example, believe that he has early onset dementia. So you would categorize that differently than what you believe a Donald Trump is suffering from. And having those sorts of issues would be okay if you were president, but not from what Donald Trump is allegedly suffering
Well,
from.
what we know of is that Donald Trump has shown cognitive issues as well. In fact, what is more concerning is the progression over time of dramatically shrinking vocabulary, of repetitive stories, of veering off course on discussions almost routinely. And those are more concerning signs. And Mr. Trump, unlike Mr. Biden that we know of, has a family history of dementia. So dementia runs in the family. I would say that Mr. Trump has more in his record, family history, in video recordings over decades that show more concern. But again, as I said, I haven't observed Mr. Biden as closely. Mr. Trump has been a great concern of mine, enough to edit the book that you mentioned. And I think now that we have Dr. Mary Trump, who confirms she's his niece, who is a trained psychologist, who confirms what we have independently evaluated, that he is dangerous. John Bolton confirms as a government insider what we have found, that he is unfit. So these are very concerning signs. And as I said, we recommend screens before any candidate takes office, fitness for duty exams. They should be repeated every year when the person is in office. This is what we recommend. We cannot compel anyone, but as a medical professional, I believe that this is quite reasonable, and the people deserve to know that their candidates and presidents are mentally fit.
Sure. So we're just about out of time, but do you believe Trump's supporters also have mental issues if they vote for him in November?
Actually, I'd like to end the interview now, if that's all right, because
okay.
we did the time.
Okay, great. Well, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
This is the Kyle Olson Show. We'll be right back.